Hello, and welcome to another episode of AI Adventures. I'm your host, Mr. Don't BS Me. Today, we break down Agenda 2030, brought to you by the World Economic Forum. You know those rich, unelected officials that are going to tell you how to live your life. Step 1. You'll own nothing and be happy. How cool is this?
Every product is a service waiting to happen. If you think about it, I mean, your cell phone, why do you want to own your cell phone? How many of you own your cell phones? How many knows that the company owns it? It's actually not a lot. I mean, you want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher? Or why do you want to own it? I mean, it's not like the plastic and the metal. It's like, I own a broke dishwasher. I mean, wow. No, why don't you want to go into a business model where the company owns it? You know what happens when the company owns it? Actually, they can bring down the prices because they don't have to buy new metal and new plastic. They design a much better product. It lasts a lot longer if they have to pick it up when it breaks.
Stop right there. Let's get our expert mechanic to translate that for us.
It's called planned obsolescence. They make it cheap and junky so it'll break down and you have to buy another one from them. That was too easy.
What do they mean the US won't be the world's leading superpower? And who's going to dominate us?
At the same time that there's a security order, there's also a global economic order. And here, power is shared. The United States is still a very robust global economy. But the US can't use its dominant position militarily to tell other countries what to do economically. The United States and China are enormously economically interdependent, and so they can't control each other. You may be surprised to hear this, but today, U.S.-China trade relations are actually at their highest levels in history.
Let's check with our in-studio economist to see what this is about.
The US exported its manufacturing to China, where they use slave labor to make the crappy stuff we buy. Thanks to politician, the economy and our country is about to collapse.
Need is to integrate people on a continuous basis into communities.
Step 3. We will no longer need organ donors. This sounds good. 3D printing organs. Let's check with our in-house scientists to see how that works.
I am a god.
Alrighty then. We will check back later, after your nap time. Less meat. How much less? And how are they going to sell this? How is this going to affect Pike County pig farmers?
To reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive. Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor, but let's try this.
Wow, she really ate bugs. Why would anyone quit eating meat? That's a special kind of dumb... Put down your phone and read a book, dumbass.
1 billion, that's a lot of people. Our resources are already stressed with the small amount of illegal immigrants we have now.
I welcome you to America, can't we? All. Just get along. And save the planet.
As a migrant who entered the country illegally in February 2023 after reportedly murdering a young woman in El Salvador. Randolph Rice is the attorney for Rachel.
NBC News has learned more than 50 migrants with potential ties to an ISIS-affiliated smuggling network are at large in America. Many illegally crossed the border and were released into the U.S. by Border Patrol because there was no information suggesting terror ties at the time.
Carbon dioxide is pollution? Trees make oxygen from carbon dioxide, and we are a carbon life form. So I have to pay a tax just to be alive?
presumably one way of getting there is to change the regulatory environment to change incentives. So I guess one question is, how essential is, at a governmental level, a carbon tax or something that prices carbon to create the right incentives?
Yeah, it's absolutely a carbon tax, if it's politically adoptable, if that can practically happen. A carbon tax at quite a high level that, has some resemblance to the green premium for these products. So it would have to be like $100 to $200 a ton. That sends out the clear market signal. Now, sadly, when people put, like France, put a bit of a tax on diesel fuel, or when the U.S. politicians talk about carbon taxes, the chance that we'll get that sort of straightforward, clear policy, I don't think is very likely. And so we do have to be creative and say, okay, if you don't have that, let's look at some of the individual sectors, and let's look at the companies who make a lot of money, and let's look at the government's own use of these products, and somehow perform the bootstrap without that.
One crucial part is agriculture, and one thing you said you were particularly surprised by was how great a problem bovine flatulence is. Do you want to explain what that is and why it's a problem?
Yeah, so the animals that can eat grass have very unusual stomachs that have these bacteria that are methanogenic in there, and so they leak natural gas both out the front and the back. And so people said, well, let's change the hay or throw some things in there. And nobody knows how to get rid of that.
How to get cows to stop farming.
Exactly. Hardworking.
Watch the shoreline. Let's play it one more time just to be sure. Climate change is going to cause rising ocean levels. Looks like it's all bullshit. That's why the elite are still buying oceanfront property for millions.
Involved in the climate fraud, exposing the climate fraud. I'm a mining engineer by training. I've worked in leadership and management at corporate levels and at mine sites. And I've been trained as a mining engineer to keep people alive underground. That means I have to understand atmospheric gases. So I just knew that that carbon dioxide cannot do what they're saying it can do. Boil the planet. It's not going to boil the bloody planet. It's essential. It's nature's essential fertilizer for plants. And so I said, this is bullshit. So I started researching it, and I found out the science is absolute crap. There is no science backing it up whatsoever. So I then started exploring further. I explored the people who were pushing it. That was the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and I found out that the whole thing was rigged. And then I found out who was driving it and the motives, and it's just for the same things that globalists do everywhere: control and wealth transfer. These people are after control, they're after wealth transfer, and from us to them, they want to make us serfs. Christiana Figueres, who used to lead the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and other senior bureaucrats in the UN have admitted. I mean, we don't need to make this stuff up. They've admitted that their agenda is a new world order, a new economic order. What's his name? Maurice Strong, who fabricated global climate change. He said he had two aims in life. One was to put in place an unelected socialist global governance, his words, and the other one was to deindustrialize Western civilization. No more of these things, and no more lights, no more electricity, no more no more power, no more roads. They want us back in the dark ages, back in the cave. That's how inhuman these people are. But they want the good life. They want us to be serfs to look after them. I mean, we're looking at their own words. They're telling us with their own words.
Have been cooling down for the last 4,000 years. So if people say, oh, the planet's warming, well, it's all about when you start the measurements. If we look at the last 38 years, there has been no change in temperature. If we look in the last 150 years, we've had 3 warming periods and 3 cooling periods with a total warmth of about 0.6 degrees Celsius. Now, I wonder why it warms. I mean, 1850, there what happened then? Oh yes, that was the end of the Little Ice Age. Do you think it's going to warm or cool after a Little Ice Age? Of course it's going to warm. So if you start taking measurements from 1850 in the Industrial Revolution, we have been warming. If you take measurements from the medieval warming, we've been cooling. We've cooled about 5 degrees since then. If you take measurements from the Roman warming, we've cooled about 5 degrees. So as soon as someone tells you, oh, it's warming, the reply you give is, since when?
Number 7. Space exploration. How awesome would that be? What government scientists are working on it? Let's check the progress of space exploration with astronaut Major Tom Blaster.
Hello, this is your captain. I'd like to welcome you aboard the interstellar spacecraft, Puddle Jumper. Manufactured by SpaceX, the development, creation, and financing are thanks to the dedication and hard work of Elon Musk, because there were no other governments with the capability of creating such a masterpiece.
Do you have any last words before you depart?
NASA, you can suck it.
Number 8. This one is obvious to tell that it's already started. The USA started on Christian values that have been demonized almost to the point of being banned altogether.